Review for State of Grace, 1990. Starring Sean Penn, Ed Harris, Gary Oldman, Robin Wright, John C. Riley, John Turturro, and even a couple scenes with Burgess Meredith are kind of one. But yeah, really good movie. I watched it a long time ago, and I just rewatched it. Kind of forgot how good it is. I don't know, maybe I enjoyed it more this time, but yeah, I think a very, very well made movie. I mean, it's definitely driven by the performances. You know, it has a pretty good plot, but I think it's mainly the performances. I'd say especially Gary Oldman and Ed Harris, I think are the standouts, and Robin Wright. I mean, Sean Penn's good too. I'd say though that those three, especially Gary Oldman and Ed Harris, um, really good. So the movie is in New York. Okay, wow. In the synopsis, there's a spoiler because it's not revealed for a while, but I won't reveal anything. But it's Sean Penn, Gary Oldman, Ed Harris. So Ed Harris and Gary Oldman are brothers. Their sister's Robin Wright. Sean Penn has been gone for years. I think like 12 years. They say he kind of just left, disappeared. They didn't know where he went. He shows back up. In the beginning of the movie like a drug deal gone bad with John Turturro, and then he shows up at a bar to hang out with Gary Oldman. Him and Gary Oldman are old friends. Sean Penn used to date his sister Robin Wright. And you know, they have some drinks and they hang out, and in this movie also there is so much drinking. I mean, this has to be one of the most alcohols consumed in this movie. It's crazy. I mean, especially Gary Oldman. I think in every scene he's drinking. Basically every scene. Like every single scene he's drinking beer. He's taking shots of whiskey, Irish whiskey, because they're all Irish. They're in the Irish mob. There's also the Italian mob. That's very important in the movie. Sean Penn does a lot of drinking in the movie. Ed Harris is like the boss. He does less. He's not in it as much, but he's very good. I mean, you know, Ed Harris, great actor. You know, I've always really liked Ed Harris. I think he's a very good actor. But yeah, tons of drinking in the movie. Ed Harris is, you know, he's ruthless, but he is kind of subservient to the Italian mob, headed by Joe Vitarelli, who's played a mobster in many things before. He plays a mobster in Analyze This. I think he's in that movie a lot, but I haven't watched that in a long time. But then they meet up with John C. Riley. He's being kind of leaned on by the Italian mob because he owes them money. He owes a bunch of people money in the city. Sean Penn and Gary Oldman beat up the Italian mob that's hassling him. This then leads to a series of unfortunate events in the movie. Yeah, very good movie. I really liked it. Roger Ebert gives it 3 out of 4 stars. I'd probably give it 3.5 out of 4. Probably, but I think, you know, it's fair. State of Grace is not quite sure which is worse, murder or yuppies moving into the neighborhood. That's one of its charms. The movie is so sincere and confused in its values that it mirrors the goofy loyalties and violent pathology of its characters. They're low-level Irish-American gangsters who operate in Hell's Kitchen, area of New York City, west of Times Square. And one measure of their excess as gangsters is the fact that the rising tenants are forcing them out of the neighborhood. The movie opens with a reunion. Sean Penn, who lived in the neighborhood, has been on the road for a few years. Now he's back in town and embracing his best friend Gary Oldman in one of the sleazy saloons where gangsters and winos seem to be the only customers. Yeah, it's like this sleazy Irish bar. And honestly, like, looks like it's a lot of fun. I've definitely had some beers in Irish bars, and it's always a good time. Crime in the neighborhood is a family affair. The Irish gang is led by Jackie's older brother Frankie Ed Harris, who has moved into the suburbs and calls the shots from his middle class house on a tree-lined street, far from the drug deals that pay his mortgage. The two brothers have a sister named Kathleen Robin Wright, who has also tried to get out of the neighborhood. She works as a clerk in an uptown hotel, but she and Tara used to be in love, and so of course fate is going to have a hand in what happens next. Since a great deal of what happens in State of Grace depends on an important secret that is not revealed until the second half of the movie, I will have to tread lightly. But the most interesting aspect of the movie is right up front. The confused notion by Jackie that he is in some way protecting the neighborhood by committing crimes there. Although the gang's main business seems to be selling drugs, Frankie is willing to pull some jobs simply to be a civic service. For example, he takes Terry along one night when he burns down a construction office on a site that will soon be a yuppie apartment building. Yeah, it's a crazy scene where they go into this apartment, they're building it, no one's in there. They bring gas cans and they're pouring it and they're walking down the hallway, and then there's all this gas in front of them, in front of the exit, and Gary Oldman he like dares Sean Penn that like he's gonna throw it and light it, and they're gonna have to run out and jump through the fire, and the Sean Penn's like, "You're crazy." And he's like, "All right, do it." So he does it. It's a great scene. I think that's the charm of the movie, is you buy their friendship. Like Sean Penn and Gary Oldman, they're old friends. I mean, they're best friends. You totally buy their friendship. Even though he hasn't seen him in 12 years, it doesn't matter. They're old drinking buddies, and you really buy the relationships in it. And Robin Wright, I mean, she really doesn't like Ed Harris. I think she likes Gary Oldman, her brother, her other brother, but she doesn't like what he does. But I think she does like him. Like he's a fun guy to hang out with. He's funny, but he's crazy. So, and yeah, Gary Oldman I think is the best performance of the movie. I mean, he's amazing. Like, I mean, he's not even American. He's English, and he's playing an American Irishman. It's like, but he just does it. I mean, perfectly. So when he burns down the construction office on a site that will soon be, Frankie is probably crazy, or maybe his mind has been completely addled by the drugs and booze he has channeled through it. His idea of making arson into fun is to pour the gasoline between himself and the door and then see if he can run through it without killing himself. He also likes to hold target practice up on the roof. He's quite capable of shocking cold-blooded killing, as he has shown in one of the movie's most surprising scenes. Oh, he even says this. Gary Oldman's performance in the movie is the best thing about it. Yeah. Sean Penn is just as good as an actor. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, I like Sean Penn. I'm not a massive fan of him, though. I mean, he's good. He's good in Mystic River. He's good in this, but I don't know. I've just never been a massive fan of him, but he's good. But he has the lead, and there's not as much he can do with it. Yeah, Gary Oldman's the one that he gets to have a lot of fun. He has to be sane and tortured and conflicted in the battle with his opposing emotions. All standard screenplay stuff. Oldman's character is more pure. He acts only on the basis of his instincts and prejudices, or out of vengeance and fear. His character doesn't have to do any fancy footwork. So he kind of gets into some spoilers here, but yeah, I really like the movie, and yeah, I'll get into spoilers. So spoilers now. Um, so like I said, John C. Riley, he's also an old friend of all them, and unfortunately, he owes money to the Italian mob, and they say other people too. So probably to a lot of other people, and and yeah, and then Ed Harris is having a sit down with the Italian mob, Joe Vertelli, who plays Borelli in this, and he basically says you have to take care of this guy. And he's like, well, you know, he's kind of part of my crew, which he kind of is. He kind of helps out here and there. But he's like, yeah, but he owes me $8,000, and he also like insults me. He said he intentionally spilled like drinks on one of his guys, which we never see the scene, but um. So then one night, Ed Harris and basically Ed Harris's bulldog. I don't know what's the guy's name. It's like his right hand man. I don't know. It's him. I don't know. I don't see him on here, but it's his right hand man and a total sociopath. And he takes him out of a bar. He's like, "Come here, help me." Takes him out of a bar, and they kill him. Uh, it's like totally cold. I mean, it's like Ed Harris could have just paid his debt and be like, "Now you owe me." It's like only 8,000. And they even say that it's only $8,000, but the Italian mob really hated this guy, so he kills him. And then, later he gets his slit throat. He gets thrown in the water, and in the near the pier. And then Gary Oldman gets really angry, and so does Sean Penn. They think the Italian mob killed him, but it's actually his brother Ed Harris killed him. And then so this sets off Gary Oldman. He's super pissed. Um, he tells Ed Harris he wants to go after the Italian mob. Ed Harris says no, not until I say yes. And this sets off a series of events. And during all of this, Sean Penn is dating Robin Wright. Kind of, she wants to get away from all of this. She works uptown, like Ebert said. But they're dating, kind of a love-hate relationship. And then one night, Gary Oldman's drinking in his own neighborhood in an Irish bar, and some Italians come in, one of them who he thinks killed his friend. And then the guys, I mean, they're real, pieces of work. They walk in, they're like, hey, give me a free pitcher of beer to the bartender. So and then one of them walks up to Gary Oldman. He's like, "Hey, we want to bury the hatchet. We know that you kind of have beef with us." I mean, he's actually kind of being nice, but in Gary Oldman's mind, he's being insulting, because he thinks he killed one of his good friends, but they didn't. But they got Ed Harris to kill. But anyways, so in this actually an amazing scene, they're all sitting there. They're like, "Oh, come join us." So then he just walks up and he just stares at them, and he pulls out a gun and he kills them all. Definitely one of the best scenes in the movie. And then he just walks off and then continues drinking throughout the night. He meets up with Sean Penn, and they're drinking. And then he meets up with Ed Harris, and he's super pissed at him. So then later, Ed Harris meets with the Italian mob, and the guy's like, I know he's your brother, but you got to kill him. And Gary Oldman and Sean Penn and all of his guys, they're all waiting across the street from the Italian mob, and he's like, if I don't come out in an hour or two, go in there, kill them all. They're about to go in there and blow them all away, but Ed Harris comes out. And then Ed Harris, like the next night, yeah, he kills Gary Oldman. I mean, totally cold. He kills his own brother. It's like, and it's like right before St. Patty's Day too. And yeah, just a brutal scene. I mean, Ed Harris is like totally a psychopath or whatever. I mean, no remorse, even over his own brother. And so he kills him. Earlier on, it's revealed that the drug deal in the beginning of the movie was fake, just to kind of establish some cred for Sean Penn. And he's actually an undercover cop. And he's trying to take all of them down. And then when he was with Gary Oldman earlier, he went up to Burgess Meredith because he owed him money. And he just started talking to him because he didn't want to beat him up because, you know, he's like 80. And Burgess Meredith tells him that Ed Harris's guy killed his friend, John C. Reilly, and Ed Harris did it. So Sean Penn then kind of suspects that this is true. And he tells Gary Oldman right before he's about to die, but he doesn't believe him. So yeah, so it's just it's pretty definitely a tragedy of a movie. Very tragic. He kills his own brother, and then at the funeral, Robin Wright's just sick of all of this, and she just wants to get away from everyone. And then Sean Penn walks up to Ed Harris, and he just hands him his badge at the funeral, walks away. He's like, he's dead. And then Sean Penn's go on the run because he became a cop in Boston. He's gonna go back to Boston, but he just decides to go to Ed Harris's bar with all of his goons, and it's St. Patty's Day. And there's a really good shootout, and he kills all of them, including Ed Harris, and he gets shot a couple times too. You don't really know if he survived or not. I get the feeling he did though, but yeah, that's pretty much the movie. But it's just crazy in the synopsis for the movie on IMDb. I mean, it says that Sean Penn's a cop, an undercover cop, and that's not revealed till 60% of the way through the movie. It's a pretty big reveal. I mean, there are some good hints to it though, but still it's a pretty good reveal. It's just crazy that they just reveal that right away. But and the director, I mean, he did a lot of music videos. I haven't seen U2. Not a big U2 fan. Oh, he did a Tom Petty one. I like Tom Petty. But he, I don't know. He did 3 O'Clock High. Directed that movie. I've heard of that movie. I've never seen it. But yeah, he did a movie called Final Analysis in 1992. So, which I haven't seen. So I haven't seen his other stuff, but he did a movie in 2016 called The Veil. So I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but I like this movie a lot. So yeah, definitely recommend this movie. Several incidents in the film are based on actual testimony given by captured mobsters. The meeting in the restaurant with the Italian mobster and the dead man's hand sequences are based on the recollection of various New York gangs. Oh yeah, Gary Oldman has chopped off hands in his freezer, and he says that Ed Harris uses them to put prints onto guns. Sean Penn and Robin Wright became a couple during the filming of the movie. They had 2 children over the next 3 years, broke up, and got back together before they finally married in 96. Eventually divorced in 2010. When Frankie goes for a sit down with Borelli, the restaurant they are in is the same restaurant that was used several times in the hit show The Sopranos. Oh, wow. Director Phil Jonah Jonu introduced his then girlfriend Uma Thurman to actor Gary Oldman on set. She became Oldman's second wife shortly after the film premiered. The marriage only lasted 18 months before Uma filed for divorce in 92. I didn't know that. She was married to Gary Oldman. The F word is used in variations or used 210 times in the film, which averages out to be approximately 1.6 times every minute. Original title was Hell's Kitchen. Later changed to State of Grace. Yeah, I think actually Hell's Kitchen is probably a better title, but Bill Pullman was originally cast as Frankie Flannery. He wasn't working out and was replaced by Ed Harris. That's weird. I think that's good. He was replaced. I mean, I like Bill Pullman, but I can't see him as. I mean, that it's like as that character. Johnny Walker's Endures, both Scottish liquor brands, are shown being drank heavily in this film, despite it being an Irish forward drama. David Rabe did some uncredited work on the script. Okay, he was on the writer on The Firm, Casualties of War. Okay. Great script. Ed O'Neill auditioned for the role, ultimately taken by Ed Harris. Oh, wow. Married with Children guy? Well, that could have. Yeah, that'd be interesting, but. Oh, yeah, this is Ennio Morricone. Reused songs from The Mission. Oh, okay. Well, it has a really good score, too. Like a really dark, kind of sad score. So. But, yeah, overall, awesome movie. Check it out. It's kind of a forgotten movie, but amazing performances. That's probably what I would say the best, especially Gary Oldman. So, but like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time.